Hi everybody, my name's Simon Lane, this is Paul Clark. I hope you're all having a fantastic time at SMP Expo in Arizona. I hope the drinks are going down great. I hope you're all partying really hard, and we just want to give a special mention to Mike, Polish Mike.
He's there, I can see him.
Magic Mike, who has promised everybody in that room a free drink. So go and see Mike now. He'll be the one drunk on the floor. Pick him up and say, "Get me a drink in." And Mike, because he earns more money than all of us.
Yeah, there's no limit apparently as well. Like
free bar,
anything, free bar thing, basically.
Go and see Mike, and you won't need to put your hands in your pockets all night, guys.
And if Mike's passed out, which he probably usually is, but go and see John Giroux. He's doing all right. Go and.
Yeah, John's doing all right as well. Yeah.
And Eric. Eric's doing great. Yeah. Go and see Eric as well.
Guys, it's such an honour and a pleasure for us to be talking to today. Again, we're so sorry we can't be there, but due to travel restrictions from the UK to the States, it's just unfortunate and we're not there. But we're going to do a virtual presentation, something that we hope you find really exciting. Before we get into that, we just need to know, was the fireworks before the presentation?
Yeah, Jeff promised me fireworks and doves, but I don't know how that would work because the doves and fireworks, I don't know. But yeah, he said he promised us, so should we wait for the fireworks? Should we just wait?
Any fireworks? Okay, we'll get straight into it. So we hope you're going to enjoy this conversation, this presentation that we're going to do now. We are going to talk about the history of scalp micropigmentation. I'm going to hand you over to Paul, because Paul was the UK's very first full-time practitioner, the world's first full-time practitioner, I should say.
Thanks, man. So it starts on a dark and stormy night. No, we don't. So history of SMP, 2010. This is when it all kicked off. So technical-wise, the technique back then was based on a 2-session process. 2 sessions. That's all. The technique was about filling as much as possible, going as dark as possible with the lowest hairline possible, okay? So this actually kind of looked like a very oversaturated treatment. It did not look like hair. Back then, when I came into the industry, I was promised 3 weeks worth of training. Unfortunately, I did not get that. I barely got 2 hours, but that's another story. So with them 2 hours of training, I was like always made to hold the pot.
The pot.
The famous pot. Now, what do you say about this pot if you're not a great practitioner?
You could have been the best practitioner in the world, but if you can't hold the pot, you're sacked.
Yeah, you gotta get out. There's no point.
No good.
No point. If you can't hold the pot, there's no point. So I used to hold this black pot with pigment, and while I was seeing this treatment being done, I knew deep down something weren't right with it. I was looking at it and I just didn't believe the process what I was seeing. It was actually making me cringe inside. So yeah, again, that's a strong feeling. So fast forward a little bit, I was like kind of 3 weeks into this kind of training. I decided that I needed to do something about it. I can't perform this treatment on people if I don't believe in it. So it kept me up at night. I kept on thinking of ways of doing it, and eventually one day I just had the idea. And now the logic was quite simple. I've studied art all my life. I've got degrees in it. I've been to art college. So I just brought that mentality from the art world into the SMP. Now with my art, I don't go in straight away with detail. I lay out a template. I sketch a template out first, and once I'm happy with the template, I commit to the idea. So I brought that kind of logic into this. So what I did, I dissected their treatment and dissected it into 3 sessions, 3 separate sessions. And my logic was, less is more. Less is more always. Did you mouth that? We didn't plan that. That was pretty good actually, well done. So less is more. And it was all about safety and template. That was my logic. I had to do something safe first, because one, we're dealing with a canvas that you cannot predict. It will decide what it wants to do. So why would you go super dark with it? Especially on a pale guy, you're not gonna go super dark. So with this kind of method, this kind of safe session, I thought, right, we open up the density really softly first and open, nice and open, and then we'll just do a nice light colour and then see how that adapts. So that naturally evolves into the next session where you can assess. This logic made so much sense to me. I can assess then what the first session looked like. It gave me the confidence to make them bigger decisions. Do I go darker? Do I increase the density? And it just made sense to naturally progress into that more confident session. And then the third session was all about perfecting it, making sure that the connections there, the flow of everything was just looking fantastic. So every step of the way, I designed this 3-step process to adapt, be ready, be on your guard, and make your decisions to turn around things, what could take you off guard. And that was it really. And I showed him this technique. He wasn't happy that I designed a new technique. I think he was a little bit peed off, but you know, so whatever. And I showed him the actual treatment process, and once he saw the healed results, he was like, yeah, you're training everybody this new way. Forget the old way, forget what we used to do, we're doing it your way.
I think it's fair to say at the point in 2010, inventions come along and they've got to start from somewhere. And yes, it isn't a technique that we all love and we all enjoy it and we all love practicing now. It was, as Paul said, very much all about let's get the first session to make the client feel happy that he's got something on his head. There was no consideration given to how this was going to heal within a week's time, how it was going to look even in a month's time. It was saturate the scalp. Now, by doing that, as we all know now, if mistakes happen, if you put your dots too close together, how can you correct any mistakes that have happened? So if the colour is the wrong shade, what you risk is a double dot and then a form of migration under the scalp, which doesn't give us the detail of what we see today.
It's also like the logic with hairlines. Why would you go to the maximum point of where sitting your hairline, where you could potentially put it? Why would you go there straight away? Because I used to see clients who used to and ah about, oh, I don't know. So why would you commit to something so low? So it just made sense in my head that just start off, less is more, go higher with the hairlines, give it room to breathe and give it room to kind of think it over in the client's head and then make them executive decisions as they come back in and get the confidence in the client so he goes, yeah, I trust the process, let's lower it down now.
Around about 2011, one of the greatest things in Paul's life happened. He met me.
That was not the greatest thing.
Okay, I came into his hair clinic to have my scalp micropigmentation treatment. I got burnt as a 2-year-old. My hair loss journey is quite well documented. So I was really on the end of my journey in terms of what else can I do. Scalp micropigmentation saved me. That's when I first met Paul. A little fun fact for you, I've just mentioned it as scalp micropigmentation. Back in 2011, this technique was called MHT, which stood for micro hair tattooing or micro hair technique. I think it got the name in around about 2013 of SMP scalp micropigmentation.
I remember the meeting. We was the actual part of the creative thinking behind it all. And there were so many different variations of it, and SMP was the one was rolled off the tongue. It's weird to be at that very moment when that name was actually given to the procedure.
Paul comes from an artistic background. I don't. I got my kind of flow into this industry through my own experience, but my eye for detail, because I had to cover my own hair loss up, so I could see flaws in the technique that was being done. I could see there wasn't a blend being taken down into the sides and into the crown area. So I was giving my opinions to Paul because he was the most experienced practitioner, and we started to connect a little bit and start to talk about ways of improving the industry a little bit more. And one of the biggest things for us was the hairline.
Yeah. So it was a big game changer when we came up with this new hairline. This hairline, what we know today, is the Jagged Hairline. this, I genuinely believe this is one of the first pinnacle moments of SMP, very much a landmark moment. And the reason being is that a lot of clients did not like the straight look. And that's UK and Europe. You know, I know it's popular elsewhere around the world, but for us Europeans, it just didn't fit well with people. And when we came up with this jagged hairline, we knew we could do it. We talked about it all the time. Me and Simon had, it was really hard for us actually, because we spent many nights in the pub. Like, why would you go to the pub? And but yeah, we go to the pub and we'd always talk about it. We looked like a bunch of crazy people because we used to take pen and paper to the pub and we'd be dotting all these different variations. And it came to the point where we was very confident on what it looks like now. How would we kind of implement this texture? And Simon here, the guinea pig of SMP, he plucked up the courage and said, let's do it. So we went back to the clinic and we actually did the hairline, and straight away, it was a big transformation for you. Simon, hopefully he doesn't mind me saying, his hairline beforehand was very strong arrowhead points. There was a very strong cut off to it. As soon as we put this jagged texture on to his hairline, it softened his facial features, it softened the whole framing. The transition from the SMP to the forehead was just a lot more smoother. And oh, I love this, I'll never forget this. The next day, Simon's client walked through the door and he just went, no hellos or anything like that. It was, what's that on your hairline? So Simon was like, well, it's a jagged hairline, it's brand new, I want that hairline. And that was it, wasn't it? It was a snowball effect then. What we noticed about, I would say about 90% of our clientele that had all the straight hairlines came back and had this brand new jagged hairline.
It was a huge game changer. 2012, we saw a big boom in the industry. People were now coming to the clinic and we was getting a different type of clientele. We were getting solicitors, more professional looking people who said, I like this technique, but I can't go to work with the old hairline. But now you've invented this new hairline. Solicitors, people who worked in banks, directors of companies, etc. These were the clientele we were dealing with, and it then led on to more other people such as sportsmen, musicians, actors. They were coming into the clinic very discreetly and now asking for the jagged hairline. So a massive game changer for us. We still felt a lot of frustration within the industry. And one of the biggest frustrations for myself and Paul was we couldn't talk to anybody else outside of his hair clinic. The ethos of the clinic was, this is our industry, this is our invention, and we don't tell anybody, and you will not recognise or speak to anybody who doesn't have a His Hair Clinic badge on their t-shirt.
I remember back in 2010 when I had this idea and thinking about getting into the career. On Google, I went up to like page 32 looking for all different variations of someone doing this technique, and there was no one, absolutely no one. I tried all corners of the world to, typed it in their engines. I could not find any trace of it whatsoever. So it was frustrating, and I was hoping that I would find someone to bounce off, and thank God that you had that mindset from the clientele's perspective and my art perspective, that to this day, we wrote one of the most extensive SMP training manuals, which has been involved in a lot of great practitioners' careers to this day. We've
done so well with the techniques and in trying to change them, but another frustrating part back then was the instruments that we were using. So what I've done now, I've gone to the SMP Museum, and I'm going to show you the very first MHT handset.
There we go.
Okay, there it is. That's what we were using back in 2010 up to about 2013, I think. So there were slight different variations in the handset. We then kind of got a little bit more creative, the inventors did, and kind of created a nice ripple effect at the front
some
there.
ripples on there.
And the cord was attached, the other ones are cordless, well, you just plug it in as well. So that was the handset. We'll then move you towards, I might need a hand with the heaviest. Jesus!
There we go.
Okay, let's move that forward, guys. There you go. There's the first hand base as well. Still quite good actually, but we can see how well
they're like this big now. Compared to like that.
So we can now see the stuff that we're using now, the fantastic handsets out there, the Bishop Guys Microblur, and all the needles that are now used. Talking of the needles, I'm going to show you the needle now. Paul, just read that for me because I can't remember what it says. It's been that long. There you
go. 3
go.
micro needle. There's not even no sizes on it whatsoever or diameters. It just says 3 micro.
There you go. And that was one of the needles that we were using. It wouldn't fit in any handsets of today. One of the other frustrating things for us was the pigment that we was using as well.
Yeah, so back in the day, it was very much a shut up and put up kind of situation. We did notice that the pigment what we used to work with, the shelf life of the treatment would kind of accelerate. It would look a bit hazy after about 1.5 years or so. So we always used to ask what was in the pigment, and unfortunately we was always met with mind your business, to put it politely.
Yeah.
So, you know, fast forward to now, and you know, when we decided that we needed to take SMP further, we decided to close a chapter on his hair clinic, and that left us in a position where we could go back to the drawing board and look at needles, look at new pigments.
It was we wasn't involved in the industry for 6 months due to some legal difficulties, and I'm sure some of our friends, John and Mike will fully understand.
Yeah.
So we had to not pick up a handset for 6 months, but as Paul said, it was okay because what it did is it gave us a chance to work on 2 new different techniques. We're always trying to innovate, we're always trying to push the boundaries, and we found another game changer in 2015, and it was called the feathered hairline. The feathered hairline is actually a more softer look than the jagged hairline. It's very popular for guys who want a kind of a receded shape and more for the mature male. It's extremely popular today with these guys. The other game changer for us was inventing 3D scalp micropigmentation. It's been huge, and I know you guys will be using that technique as well. What it does, it enables clients to gain an extra day's growth of hair. I used to wet shave my hair back in 2010 when I first had the treatment. So fast forward to 5 years, I've now got a 1 day stubbly effect on the back and sides. I'm in all but 7. And it allows me to just grow my hair a little bit, and it's a huge game changer, and it's due to pigment as well.
Yeah, the pigment's what we started experimenting, looking for. We noticed straight away when we was testing it on our ankles. If you look at our ankles, you've had yours laser up, right?
Yeah.
Look at my ankle, it's covered in loads of dots. But we noticed that from just experimenting on my ankle, the pigment held really well. With this, it started getting the creative juices flowing, and we started thinking, hold on, this 3D treatment could really help people grow that extra day's growth also, or if they're thinning, and they can use that thinning hair to their advantage. But one of the big game changers was, it was for anybody who was like an old client who had the old ways and the old pigment. They could rejuvenise their old treatment and make it so fresh and give it that popping sensation and that grain texture. So what we noticed when we opened Brandwood Clinic, that we had a lot of guys with the old treatment having this 3D. Now this 3D technique also evolved into helping people with poor SMPs as well. So we evolved into the SMP Rescue Service, what we offer as well, for anybody who needs help with poor SMP or very weak SMP. So even that treatment itself has developed into something really nice for people in a bad situation.
It also, through innovation, what we've been able to do is help not just guys with bad SMP, but people who are suffering with other different forms of hair loss. People like myself who were burned. We've had guys in accidents, road accidents, alopecia, guys with failed hair transplants. So it's enabled us to do scar techniques different. alopecia, the same kind of theory as what you do as standard Norwood hair loss, but you just build it up a lot more patiently and just use different colour shades to help you with that. These have all been huge game changes. Going back to one of the other frustrations for us was not being able to talk to any other clients, to any other practitioners in this industry. By 2015, we're now seeing a different landscape in scalp micropigmentation.
So now, with all these great events, what you're hosting now and sitting present for now, it allows us to actually talk to new artists and develop techniques with them and just generally find out collectively how do we push this industry forward. So it's amazing now, going from back in 2010 where everything was shrouded in complete secrecy and you were not allowed to talk to anybody. We have these events now scattered around the world where we all can work collectively to push the industry, and it's such a better playing field, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
So now, like I said, we bounce these ideas off. You got guys coming up with new needles and new machines which are helping artists get better results. You name it. So going from nothing to over-educating and making friendships and talking to other people around the world is only just beneficial for us all.
Guys, we'd like to thank you so much for letting us be a part of the SMP Expo conference. We really hope you've enjoyed our chat. It's been great for me and Paul. We get asked these questions all the time on how SMP MHT started. So it's great for us to kind of talk about this. We hope you found it an enjoyable conversation. We hope you haven't fell asleep, well, not all of you anyway. Enjoy the rest of your night. Again, apologies we can't be there. And thank you to everyone and stay safe.
See you later, guys. Bye.